So the first claim I want to try to deal with is one that has been dealt with soon after Anthony first published the first video about the Isle of Man and his claim that he could also see Ireland. The claim is not that this is the Isle of Man. We're all happy to accept that it's the Isle of Man. But shortly after that claim, in this first video, in October of 2017, he makes this claim: the Isle of Man stops here, meaning this point here where the land appears to come to an end and we only have a horizon of the sea. Now, I think Anthony has largely dropped this claim, but this claim and the falseness of this claim is what first gave rise to his claim that he could see Ireland from St. Bees. Ever since that first claim was made, he has been backtracking, reinventing and finding alternative ways to try to justify his initial claim that he could see Ireland. As each piece of as each claim is made and completely debunked, he clutches at something else. But it's really important to remember where all this started. It started because he claimed that this was where the Isle of Man stopped. And if we play the video on and he sees more land to the north, to the right hand side here, and more further to the right, his claim is that this must be some other location. It cannot be the Isle of Man because he has already gone past the end of the Isle of Man, the north end of the Isle of Man. And his video continues. He asks, what is that land? And he continues on to 3 or 4 more little pieces of land that are poking up in this particular video that he claims. He then tries to find evidence to support that them being Ireland. Now, as it turns out, all of this land that he saw here to the north of the point he misidentified is in fact the Isle of Man. And this is very simple to see. All we have to do is find a topographic map. This one's particularly useful because it's slightly interactive, of the Isle of Man. You can see this on Google Earth as well. It is a little bit clearer on this particular map. And we see that the Isle of Man has plenty of hills, some of which are reasonably high. Snaefell here at that point is nearly 2,000 feet high. I think the highest point goes up over 2,000 feet. And that high land, those hills, come to an abrupt end here. And so the St. Bees viewpoint is to the east-northeast of our location here. So we're looking across in this direction. And so the last of the hills that we ought to be able to see would be this one here, sloping down rapidly towards the road and much lower land here. So this land down here is at 40 feet or 30 feet, that sort of, doesn't matter where you click here, you're going to get a value of around that. The hill here at this point is 700 feet. And as you move down towards the road, not quite at the road, it drops to below 500 feet, and at the road, or just past the road, it's at 62 feet. So there's quite a steep drop away here as that hill comes to an end. This land is very low. And slightly further to the north, we have a range of low hills around the village of Bride. And what Anthony has seen in his video is this range of hills coming to an end, abrupt end, then an area where the land is so low that it is hidden below the horizon, and then he sees the tops of the hills here in this area. If we zoom in on those hills, we can see that they have elevations that are in the order of sort of 280 to 300 feet, 276 feet at that point, somewhere here, 299 feet. The highest point here is actually 300, according to Ordnance Survey, it's actually 96 meters, which works out at well over 300 feet. And there are many points here which are over 80 meters in elevation. And Anthony is seeing the tops of these hills. So he sees an area here, the top of this hill, another area here, the top of this hill, another area here, the top of this hill, and so on. And that's what he sees in this initial video. These are simply the tops of those low hills. They're not pointy or spiky. They are just low, flat hills. And this has been pointed out to Anthony on many occasions, and I believe he has now accepted that the land here to the first land that he encounters, he is accepting is indeed the Isle of Man and these low hills, and he denies now that the land further on is the Isle of Man, and he's claiming that it is either Ireland or Scotland. I want to go to Anthony's second video now, which I think is this one. And let's open that with the same program. There's a lot of guff at the start of this about refraction and so on, but up at this point we get to the bit where he zooms in again. Now this video is filmed from a higher elevation, so you would expect that he would see more of the land. Anthony made a claim, which is one of my previous videos completely destroys, that he was at the same location for this video as the previous one. He was not. He was at a higher elevation. This has been proved beyond any doubt whatsoever. We spend a little bit of time, I'll just let this run and talk, we spend a little bit of time panning around the island. So this is all the Isle of Man, and we'll see that later on. As Anthony pans northwards, past Snaefell, the North Barule, he comes to the point he misidentified previously as the end of the Isle of Man. And he sees this land here. And now, because he's at a higher elevation, instead of simply seeing the tops of these hills, he sees more of the hills. Doesn't all quite fit into one shot, but it's the same. He sees the same pieces of land as he saw before, and it all seems to be one continuous piece of land. Anthony has more recently been claiming that the right-hand portion of this land is not the Isle of Man, but is in fact part of Ireland. However, this video, the main point of this video is to illustrate that, or to point out that the original claim was that the Isle of Man ends here and everything north of that is not the Isle of Man. this is not where the Isle of Man ends. This point here, and we can demonstrate this very clearly in the next video, is in fact the top of these hills, or the end of these hills, this range of hills here. We're looking in this direction, and so the most right hand point that we see on the video is here. The land that Anthony saw above, in the next video we will look at how to establish that it is definitely the area of low hills here around the village of Bride. But this video simply pointing out that Anthony misidentified his land, and everything that has come subsequently has been purely a result of that initial misidentification, and then his desperate attempts to justify or back up that completely bogus claim that he'd identified correctly the end of the Isle of Man, and therefore the other features he saw must be Ireland or Scotland or somewhere else.